Hi, I'm Anna. I was super lucky to be King Country River Care's 1 Billion Trees Kickstart project manager. It's just finishing up now. It was a 4-year program where we have funding from Te Uru Rākau, or 1 Billion Trees, part of MPI, and we have spent $1.98 million, pretty much matched dollar for dollar by our farmers to increase and support, enable biodiversity outcome and I guess erosion control and improving water quality around the catchment of King Country River Care. The project started in, I think, 2021 in the middle of COVID, and it was part of the then government's Jobs for Nature stimulus. So we took a few months. We had a lot of pressure to get up and running, and we initially said 2 years, 200,000 plant, and there was a lot of rush to try and get started. Fair to say that we failed to really get there in that first year, so we ended up with a 4-year project, and we got to 303,000 plants over those 4 years. So some of the other key metrics for us are around fencing. So we basically funded planting and fencing, and we funded 184 kilometres of fencing, of which 100 of those were 7/8 wire conventional fences. Some of it was other fencing, so we really let farmers choose what was the right fence for the right site. We required them to have a farm environment plan, or the beginnings of a farm environment plan, and that was to help, I guess, pick the right sites for impact. And we did have a healthy tension between the right sites because you drove past them a lot, so you saw them heap, which is encouraging, and or the right sites for an environmental impact. And we didn't make any rules hard and fast, but we talked about it. We didn't have any expertise in what species to use on different sites, so we all, farmers and myself and the team helping, we all learned as we went along. There was some places that had really poor survival and others that did really well, and that was overwhelmingly to do with the seasons. The dry summers were incredibly tough, and species other than harakiki and the manuka kanuka tended to really struggle when we had the dry summers. We set the project up so that farmers contributed at least 25%, and 1 Billion Trees, or the funding, contributed the other 75% as a minimum. However, many of our farmers did a lot more, so the projects were often not just what the minimal amount was. Quite often they had much bigger projects, or we were just funding a portion of it. I think that having the requirement to participate tied to having or starting a farm environment plan was really key to some of our success. It meant that people were more engaged and were thinking about what they were doing and why, and I think that's probably one of the success factors of the project now when I look back, is that people, farmers, all of us to be fair, learned a lot about how we could look to improve environmental outcomes, so biodiversity, water quality, and there was a bit of a journey for us on learning about species and pest control, site prep, site maintenance. It did tie in really well with the pilot project we'd done on forest grade native, so what size plant even do you need, and different sites definitely had different needs or different successes with the different pots. We all learnt a lot as we went along. There was a requirement, it was Jobs for Nature, right, so that was in that COVID time, and they needed an outcome also around how much extra labour we created. So we just got our farmers to record the hours that their business and or contractors put in, and at the end of the day it was close to 3,500 days that we funded, and I think that Manta worked that out to be one person for 75 years working away. I think that you can see it when you drive around the district, the amount of extra areas, places that have been fenced and planted. It really has made a difference to how our region looks, and especially in some areas, and I'm super proud when we drive past it and you see the plants growing, and then you see the new projects that people are doing beyond where we funded. That's pretty cool, and I know it's been tough out there financially for farming businesses in some of the last 4 years, but it's been really great to be able to fund good projects where people would not have been able to do it themselves in the last few years. In the future, we're super aware of the challenges of funding this kind of work, and think there's a real opportunity to work more closely with local iwi, with the Regional Council, Waikato Regional Council, and also other corporates. Corporates have set some interesting targets, some of them, and biodiversity comes into it. So does carbon sequestration and greenhouse gas. So what we're doing doing on farm and what we delivered with this project has some massive opportunities for those organisations and how we might be able to work together and work with them to deliver on some of their targets. I think the iwi one's super exciting. Maniapoto have done their treaty settlement recently and would really love to work together with them around improving water quality and other environmental outcomes, and have a look at what we learnt doing this project and what we can do together going forward.